Welcome to Fridays for Fundraising. In the next 5 minutes, you're going to learn one step you can take before you leave the office today that can move fundraising forward for your small nonprofit. Hi, I'm Kelly, founder of From Scratch Fundraising, where we help nonprofit leaders raise more dough without burning anything. Every Friday, I'm here to serve up one bite-sized fundraising assignment that you can tackle in about an hour. Think of it as your weekly recipe for sustainable fundraising success. No overwhelm, just actionable steps that actually move the needle. This month, we're starting to work on our year-end campaigns. If you're just tuning in, let me encourage you to go back to our October 3rd episode and start there so that you're following along and building up your year-end campaign. If you've been following along, you've got a plan, base content, and a segmentation strategy. This week, we're drafting all your emails. Let's talk about a few tips for how to make the most of your content. First, messaging strategy. I like the formula, make them feel, then make them think. Too often, nonprofits talk about what they do and not why they do it. What we do appeals to the head, but the why appeals to the heart. And philanthropy means love of humanity. It's primarily a heart-driven thing. So how do you do make them feel, then make them think? Tell a story. Talk about why the work matters. Discuss what difference you've made. This is the feeling stuff, the why stuff. Then hit them with metrics like number of people served, acres of habitat preserved, number of trees planted. That's the head stuff, the what stuff. They both matter, but heart has to come before head. My second tip, be careful with the use of the word we. A lot of nonprofits use this very ambiguously. But here's another formula I love for talking to donors. Why you? Why me? Why us? Let me show you how that works. Why you? Hey, donor, you've been giving to us annually for years. That commitment matters. Why me? We talk a little bit about why our nonprofits' work matters. Make them feel, then make them think, right? That's the why me part. Why us? We use that magical us when we're coming into relationship with our donor. When you become a monthly donor, together we can expand our work to support young people who are struggling in school. Your monthly gift supports our tutors, delivering quality educational support throughout the school year, not just at testing time. Together, we are giving the kids in our community a better head start. My third tip, like any great story, your appeal needs a hook. The number of small nonprofit fundraising emails that begin with, I hope this email finds you well, or thanks for your past support, delete. Right? You won't make it past that. You need a really great hook to make your donor keep reading. Start the story immediately. Ask a question that the donor will want to read on to find the answer to. Anything that isn't pro forma and jumpstarts their interest in reading through your appeal. That is the hook we're looking for. If you need inspiration, go back, read some famous novels, right? See what those hooks look like. And that can be some really great inspiration for your year-end appeal. My next tip, you should ask above the fold and before the end. So there should be an obvious ask before the donor has to scroll. That's what we call above the fold, right? In a newspaper, it's above the literal fold. In our email content, we talk about the ask being above the fold, meaning before the donor has to scroll. We need to make sure that that is there. There should also be another ask at the end. My next tip, do not send your emails as your organization name. People connect to people. People give to people. People are not giving to your nonprofit. They're giving to your executive director, to your program staff, to the people you serve. And that's who the year-end appeal should come from. In fact, I don't think all of your emails have to come from your executive director. This is something I commonly see with small nonprofits, is every email should come from the executive director. Now, a vast majority will if you are a solo executive director, but the email should come from and be written in the voice of whoever is the best person to ask. Sometimes that's your board chair. Sometimes that's a program staffer. Sometimes that's even a volunteer, right? The most popular appeal I've ever written in my entire career was from a building. I'm not even kidding. When I was working at an art house cinema, we wrote a year-end appeal from the cinema itself, telling the donor how great it felt to be alive once more since our nonprofit took over operations. We raised so much money in that campaign. You can have fun with who the emails are actually from. Similarly, the subject line matters as well. Think about the subject line deeply. I tend to see nonprofits thinking a lot about the content and then coming up with the subject line right before they send it out. But the best appeal in the world won't raise a dime if nobody opens it. So I suggest that you avoid words like donate and support. If you use those types of words, you might as well have your subject line be, hey donor, we're about to ask you for money, right? Nobody's going to open that. We want to make our subject line catchy, like the opening hook, right? A bit mysterious. The one thing you can do today for our community, or we're ready to grow, or on your mark, get set, ... Right? These are the types of subject lines that get opened. One of my favorites that I ever sent out was to first-time donors. Again, this was when I was working for the Art House Cinema. And the subject line was, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Right? A classic cinema line, but also, what does that mean? What's going to be in the email that's the beginning of a beautiful friendship? Next, you should use merge fields to insert the donor's name. This should be a given at the beginning of an email. No more dear friend. I want to make sure it says dear Nancy, dear Jimena, dear Tim, right? We have to make sure that those are customizable because that's so easy in this day and age. You can also pepper the donor's name throughout. One of my favorite tips is to merge their name before the final ask of the email. So I'll have dear Jimena, storytelling, some facts, make them feel, make them think. When we get to that end, when I'm ready to make that final ask, Jimena, would you consider making a gift today? So making sure that their name appears right before the ask. People's eyes naturally track to where they see their name. And this is a super easy thing to do in most email management systems. So people's eyes track to that. They're more likely to take a look at your ask. Okay, so those are my top tips for writing your email. So on your mark, get set, start writing. Spend your hour or maybe a little bit more today writing your emails for your campaign. Remember, you can write one base email and then write different versions of it for different segments to save time and effort. You can go back to our episode on segmenting your year-end appeal to get some ideas. Want the templates and tools to make this even easier? Head over to fromscratchfundraising.com/year-end to grab this month's free resource, a year-end campaign planner. I've already done the heavy lifting. You just need to customize it for your organization. Today's assignment will be a million times easier if you hop over there and grab the template to get you started. If you are loving this podcast and want the complete recipe for fundraising success, consider joining our Sustain and Thrive program. It's a 12-month program that takes you from setting up your fundraising foundation all the way through donor stewardship, board engagement, and even expansion strategies like major gifts, peer-to-peer fundraising, and more. We break down the monumental task of building a fundraising program into manageable, bite-sized assignments, just like this podcast, but with coaching support, a community of peers, and unlimited access to all of our templates and training. Because getting fundraising support shouldn't leave you feeling like a burnt crust. Join us in Sustain and Thrive. where we're putting the fun back into fundraising. Go to fromscratchfundraising.com/apply to join today. Quick reminder, if you haven't already, you're going to go over to fromscratchfundraising.com/year-end. You're going to grab the year-end campaign planner. You're going to figure out your target audience, where you'll reach them, and what you're asking of them, so that this week you are ready to write emails because you already know what your year-end campaign is going to look like. Remember, fundraising success isn't guesswork. It's following the recipe. I will see you next week, and we're going to talk about how to draft all your social media. See you then.
Now go make the world a better place.